Hello, I'm Justin Lum, Fox 10 investigative reporter with Fox 10 News in Phoenix, Arizona, and we are covering the Chad Daybell case. As some of you know, there was just a guilty verdict last week and a death penalty sentence for the so-called doomsday prophet, found guilty of killing his first wife, Tammy Daybell, and two children who once lived here in Arizona, JJ Vallow and Tylee Ryan. Joining me is Madison County Prosecutor from Idaho, one of the lead prosecutors on this case, Rob Wood, who has been on this from the start. Rob, first off, just tell me, how are you feeling after finally completing this chapter in such a long, nearly 5-year long saga?
Like you said, it's been long. Yeah, I'm a little bit tired, but I feel good about the work we did. Um, I feel good about what we accomplished. So, but yeah, it has been long.
I have to ask, coming into this trial, and we know that the intention was to have these two defendants join. We're talking about Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell. That was the case at first, but they got severed, and you got the guilty verdict. Lori Vallow last year. She's now convicted of similar crimes in this case. How much did that help, though? How much did that help the team to go through that trial last year and then come into this with much of the same evidence? There's some new things we saw, a lot of new things we learned, but just be able to say, okay, we've done this before. This is not new to us.
Yeah, well, one, the preference we had was to do it all together. That's what we tried to do, and it didn't end up that way, and that's fine. It did, though. I think absolutely doing it once before is a preview of how to do it again. I think we made some improvements over the first time. And but it absolutely, yeah, practice helps, right? And so doing that trial with Lori and then coming in with Chad, I think we were probably better prepared. Not probably, we were better prepared for having done one before.
And as far as the witnesses, we definitely saw more witnesses in this case. And your team, you guys had to prepare for, obviously, the defense having this time 11 witnesses called to the stand compared to last year. Lori Vallow had no witnesses testify on behalf of the defense. Was that a different aspect? And as far as dealing with the capital case where, you guys had to prepare those rebuttals, or maybe that's something you guys kind of knew what to expect and who you'd call on for a rebuttal. I mean, how much work does that take as far as a team of four and how you strategize on, in general for something like that?
It's a lot of work, and you never fully know what to expect. Um, Attorneys give each other their proposed witness list beforehand, but you don't know who actually is going to get called until they get called. Um, and so, yeah, there a lot of work went into that. Luckily, as you mentioned, we had four attorneys on this case. I felt very lucky to be working with the other three attorneys, all three of them, Lindsay Blake, Rocky Wixom, Ingrid Beatty, very talented attorneys. And so that helped to have a team of people who were really committed. But yeah, it is a lot of work. Doing the rebuttal, putting that together, and a lot of that had just kind of happens. You prepare as much as you can, and then some of it you have to do while you're there. So yeah.
Now I have to ask you. I remember, way back when December of 2019, when this case really exploded. And still, there was no idea where Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell were, probably an inkling of where they were, but they weren't cooperating with authorities. And you were basically coming across all this evidence, working with law enforcement. It just grew and grew into the mountain of evidence that we have now, all the text messages and cell phone data. At what point do you think you fully understood this case as a prosecutor? Like, okay, I know this like the back of my hand. And
That's a really good question. I've got to be honest. I don't know I've ever actually really thought about that. Like, at what point did I feel like obviously before we got the grand jury indictment, I think we had a really good handle on it by that point. At the beginning, it was kind of like drinking from a fire hose. So much information in such a short amount of time. But yeah, I don't know if I can answer the specific moment, but definitely by the time we received the grand jury indictments for the cases we tried, I think at that point we had a really good handle on the case.
Have you ever worked on a case where you had so many agencies involved? I mean, literally from Arizona, Hawaii, FBI, it goes on and on.
No, absolutely. I never have. And like you mentioned, though, you had Arizona, the FBI, Hawaii, Rexburg Police Department, Fremont County Sheriff's Office, 2 prosecutors' offices. We had some Idaho Attorney General investigators. So many people working on it. And but the thing I would say about that, the teamwork in this case, to me, I think Lindsay, Blake, and I have both commented on this right after the trial. The teamwork was amazing. The willingness of people to work with each other, to share information, and it was really neat to watch that happen. Just to see all those different jurisdictions working so well together.
And did you ever foresee just how many family members are impacted? Like, I think really when we get into victim impact statements and last year, Lori Vallow's sentencing, you have 3 victims here, and they have so many people who love them and so many people that you may not have known until later on in the case that you've now met and you understand. I mean, there's so many stories to be told there about these people.
So if I understood your question, did I foresee that? I mentioned this to Lindsay Blake the other day, that she and I kind of had this conversation. The ripple effects of a crime like this are endless. And so you have, your immediate victims, Tylee, JJ, and Tammy, and then their family members, their friends, the people who knew them, who loved them, who worked with them. So no, I did not foresee that. But it has been really touching to me to see how many people cared about Tammy and Tylee and JJ, and those effects go far and wide.
Yeah, definitely. And I got to ask you this because, we have Lori Vallow's trial coming up here in Arizona soon. I know you can't talk about that specifically, but we sort of got here at home in the Valley. This is where it all started. And I tell everyone that, yes, these tragedies happen in Idaho, and it's touched so many people in that, tight-knit community in the Rexburg area. But I mean, here in Chandler, in Gilbert, so much was happening. We've gone to see evidence and text messages, a lot of which, we heard in the trial and saw witnesses from law enforcement. Just how crucial is that Arizona route of this case? I mean, how much did you study into that too? We talk about 404B evidence, right? And that was sort of new to me as someone who's not in law, and we first saw this trial last year, but how you guys were able to bring that in and to just show the jury, like, this is context for you need to know about this.
I think that you hit the nail on the head with the word context. It did provide the context for what was going on. And I do want to be careful what I say, because I don't want to tread anywhere near the trials that are going to happen in Arizona. But yeah, absolutely, it provided the context, intent, motive, things like that.
All right. Rob, I guess, is there anything that you want to say to people who've been following this case so closely they know you, they know your face. They've been people who, whether they're from Idaho, people who are from all over the country, they've been following this case, searching for justice and watching you and your team do this. Is there anything you'd like to tell people?
You know, it's been touching to see how many people do care about the victims in this case, and I think that's where a lot of that interest comes from. People care about the victims in this case, and I think anyone who has worked on this case understands that. And so, I'd say thank you to the community of people who have supported law enforcement, have supported how this case moved forward.
And I know all victims are important, and you've probably helped so many families in your long career. But I mean, this one here is something you just don't forget. Do you feel like this case and being able to bring justice for these victims, do you feel like it reminds you exactly why you became a prosecutor?
Yeah, I think so. I think, I really do believe the vast majority of people who go into prosecution and go into law enforcement do it for the right reasons, and because they want to help, and they want to try and do the right thing. And I think that this is definitely one of those cases that I think reinforces that.
Okay, Rob Wood, Madison County Prosecuting Attorney, I appreciate you so much. And, we go back, and I appreciate you just always being a good guy along the way and doing what's right and, keeping us informed when you had to. And it's been, obviously, as you know, something we've covered here for such a long time, and, proud to be a part of it and see this come to sort of the end here. So, yeah, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.